minutes. Okay.
I'm waiting for the
Oh,
notification.
yeah. Well, you should get it literally any moment now. Should pop on up.
There it is.
There it is. Perfect. Well, in the meantime, while we wait for this thing to get kicked off, yo, check this. So, first off, the name of this thing, hold on. Beacon Crushables. I'm like, wait a minute, what is going
Freshly
on?
shaved.
What? But do you see the can, the beer can here? What's up, Vaughn? It's such a weird, interesting one to try. It's American Lager. It's
What's
they call the
that?
Claremont Lounge, which if anybody knows Atlanta, the Claremont Lounge is just a hot shit show in general. But I built this city. Oh God, yes, it's just interesting.
Anything in a pink
But
can can't be very good.
the hell, yeah, TJ, I agree. The hell is that? Yeah, look, it's just an American Lager, my man. Like I'm just popping open a beer, hoping not to splash it all on my computer because that would piss me off. It's like I got my personal computer is a new 16-inch Pro. This thing's legit.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh yeah, this shit's good. It's definitely good.
What is it?
I know, TJ. Look, who cares? It's all good, my man. It's beer nonetheless. Lost 1 point. Respect for you. Yeah, after the Kim Kardashian thing and now this one, yeah, I get you. Anyways, yeah, yeah. Well, orchid means something great. Like, why we got to be hating on the pink can, my friend? Hey,
It
life
just
and
makes me
things
think that
don't
it
pay.
tastes like strawberry or something.
Yeah, no, it's
You
just
know?
American lager. It tastes pretty good. I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but look, I just don't want to have. I just don't like basic ass beers. You know what I mean? Like Budweiser, Miller. I just don't like any of those. I like to try to find the smaller breweries, the ones that like to experiment and try different flavors, whether they get hoppy or not. I'm down with it. It's very rare that I meet a beer I don't like, so I just give it a
The
try.
problem with them is that they have so many calories. I mean, I think a few years ago I went on this IPA binge where I was drinking pretty much every night one of those really big
Katrubia.
bottles from Trader Joe's.
Mm-hmm.
And after about 2 months, I noticed that I'd put on weight, and I said to my wife, maybe I should like do some exercise or something. And she said, well, maybe you should stop drinking that beer because that's what's doing it. And it was like, visually, I could see that it was like gross, like this blob monster.
Blob monster.
I was a
By
blob
the way,
monster,
that's like an old
It was
ass
awful.
'80s movie called The Blob. I don't know if
The
you
blob.
that. Yeah, there's shit called The Blob, but yeah, there we go. TJ lost 1 point. Respect for you. I just think that's so funny. Oh well, I figured I'd toss that in there for good metric. But yes. Anyway, just what an interesting time. Yo, man. So I just want to hop on, catch for a little bit. We figured why not. I know it's a little late on the East Coast. This what? It's 10. It's 10:25 over here. What did you end up doing? What did you end up doing with the day?
Me, so I have a horse.
Do you have?
We're horse
Wait, I was
people.
like, do you really have a horse?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do have a horse.
That's some
Um,
Georgia shit. Okay, you have a horse.
I know. No, I've been a horse person since I met my wife. Well, since before I met my wife, so over 20 years. It's actually how I met my wife. So long story, but long story short, we've had horses since we were married. 20, it's been 20 years now, and we're down to one horse now. We've had as many as like six or seven, but we're down to one now. We obviously we don't have property that where we could have them, but we normally board them somewhere. So he's over in a stable or a ranch
Mm-hmm.
up in the mountains here about like 30, 35 miles away. So we went out there this morning and I rode him and groomed and did all that stuff. And we were out there for a couple of hours, came home, got some good lunch. I went out this afternoon, wanted to just get a few things from a grocery store. And it was the first time I've been out since that they made this advisory that, we should all be wearing masks while we're out.
How long have you like literally been inside?
I go out every day, whether it's for a walk or whatever. I'm an outdoors person. I can't sit indoors. I
I
just
mean,
can't.
publicly, like.
What do you mean?
Well, okay, so you say you go out every day. Okay, I get that. Like you go for a park, so on and so forth. I mean, like to a store somewhere publicly of that nature.
I would say every like maybe 2 or 3 days, and I limit it to I go to Aldi or Aldi, whatever you, however you say it.
Yeah, listen.
But so there's an Aldi in town that this I live in a neighborhood that they're very hoity-toity people, and Aldi is kind of I don't know, kind of low end if you compare it to like a Trader Joe's, which is like really busy. So no one goes there, and I don't think they like the idea of having to put in 25 cents to get your cart out or
Yeah,
whatever. But they don't
we can
like
talk
it.
about that for
So
like. So I've been to
Aldi,
Aldi like a couple times. Why can't they just? Can I get a damn hand basket? Do I really need to get a cart each and every time? Can't I just get a hand basket? Okay.
no, no chance. You can't.
Asking
Okay,
too much?
that's end of story. You're asking way too
I'm
much,
gonna
way too much. But anyway,
down again.
very few people go there. So that's my place to buy almost all of our groceries. But I needed to go to a couple of other places today, so I had to go to the PetSmart to get a few things for the bird, and then there's the Target, which is right there, and I had like a list of groceries that I needed to get, and I was completely put off by the amount of people who were outside of Target, like all the cars, and I said, okay, screw that, I don't want to do that. I went to Safeway, same thing. I'm like, yeah, I ain't going in there. Then went to Kroger, and there was less people in outside of Kroger, so I said, okay, I'll go in here. But I tell you what, people walking around wearing these masks, it's creepy, okay? And the
Yeah,
whole
there's no doubt.
yeah, it creates this very tense atmosphere, a very tense environment. People really do stay away from you if you're wearing a mask. I mean, there's no two ways about
I
it.
stayed the hell away from you. Absolutely. I'm not trying to get near you. Wearing
You
a
stay
mask.
away from
Look.
me without a
Jonathan.
mask.
Let's dissect this for a second. When is it that anytime anyone wears a mask, that some good shit goes down, right? Like whether you're
Halloween?
Jason Voorhees, right? Wear the mask, hockey mask, yeah, ass getting killed, right? Like if anybody wears a mask near you, some shit's going down. I just don't trust it. So even I was going to make light here with the facial ones, but yeah, it's just there's something about it that says, you know what, I'm staying away from you, and maybe there's a human element there to where like when you're obscuring the face, like it's just a part of like your internal danger system that says, you know what, something's not right with you. You're a bit off. Therefore, I'm gonna GTFO and just keep my distance.
Yeah. Well, you're clearly up to no good, aren't you? So anyway, so I did that, and it was a very strange feeling being out and about, wearing a mask. I did not like the whole experience. Came home, chilled, made some dinner, and here we are now. What's your average day?
Yeah, well, first off, by the way, anybody that's as you coming through, as you hear this, we can actually see your comments. So if you holler at us, we can actually see it as it goes through. Just a little FYI. But yeah, today, man, I just had a real chill day, right? Like I know it's Sunday, it's the last day for Monday. It's going to be gangbusters going into tomorrow. Like I got plenty of work to do, that's for sure. So I was like, all right, like get that pressure washer out. We pressure washed the deck. Then I wanted to wash my car. I wanted to try it on it. So I got that a foam gun. Did that for a little bit. Man, I played a bit of. I'm kind of behind on this, but I mean, I didn't get a Switch to a little over a year ago. But anyway, so I played some Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild again, and I've just been enjoying my day. Like I get up early in the morning, drink some coffee, do some shit around the house, but did a lot of laundry, that's for sure. But otherwise, I did. Oh, so I did get out for a little bit. So fun there. I stopped by the liquor store to go get these beers, and then there's this dude Daryl, right? So his name's Daryl James, really good guy. He doesn't live too far from here. He lives about maybe 10 minutes from me, but he's like my normal go to the Lyft airport during work. So like I would see this guy like 3-4 times a month possibly. And anyway, so he's retired, and right now he can't do anything else like Lyft related. Hold on, tangent for a second. Terry, yeah.
Animal Crossing.
Okay, I'll get you more in a second. Can't pour you what I got over here. Ask mommy. And so,
But Daddy, it's in a pink can. It must taste good,
it must
huh?
taste good. It must be
Come
cheap.
on.
Animal Crossing. I have Animal Crossing. I never opened it up yet, TJ. But so anyways, so I got a few of these beers, right? Like I just sampled like 3 different ones, and then I did like the responsible thing: drive by his house and drop off these beers at his porch. But then he comes out, and then I just talk from my car to him for a bit, right? Because he's just a bit older. We don't want to have any chances of anything happening. But I became such good friends with him because I mean, literally, like my normal work day, like this is the one guy that would hear, like, "Oh, hey, how did last week in Dallas go?" or X, Y, Z, right? And I would talk to this guy over and over, and the fact that I don't get to see him anymore for Lyft is kind of disheartening. And then after I had him a couple times just from the luck of the draw, I was like, hey, like, I'll get your number and I'll text you when I schedule a Lyft ride, so maybe you can go snatch it. So like we formed a pretty good relationship. He literally looks like God, what's his name? It's gonna elude me right now. Not Denzel. Oh, Morgan Freeman. He's literally like Morgan Freeman. He looks like Morgan
Nice.
Freeman. And so anyway, so I had a little chat with him. That was nice, and I stopped by Publix, and sure enough, there's a lot of people in Publix today. So I just got in and out, just got the essentials. You're kind of limited, and so what I find interesting is, preferably, I would like to just stay the hell out, right? Like just go once a week, if that, be done with it. But the problem is they only let you have, and I understand this, but they only let you get like two of any items at the same time. So you kind of have to go back here and there a little bit. And with that being said, I'm just like, all right, well, let me just go, just do this. And so anyway, so I did that. I see everybody still talking about this whole little switch thing, and I'm just gonna pause for a second and say, Abigail, look, I can tell you, I don't know if Animal Crossing's any good. I paid the $59 for it, but I never played it yet. So, do you have a
Isn't it
Switch
for
by any chance?
Android as well?
What's that?
Isn't it for Android as well? I saw it.
Yeah. There's Animal Crossing. There's like a flavor of it on iOS and Android for sure. But I mean, oh gosh, like the Nintendo Switch, man, is awesome. Like between uh, Joe, Adam, and Macy all got me hooked on it, and so I finally bit the bullet because everything Nintendo does, I feel like is almost like for a child. You know what I mean? Like I would
Hmm.
look for it, and I'm not big into the Xbox and PlayStation because I'm sorry, like as a grown man, and I know a lot of people like to play that, and this is no shade, but I'm not going to spend all those hours on a bullshit sitting in front of a TV. I just can't do it for me. Like I just
Is
don't.
that at our age? It's too much time.
Yeah, it's
Way
too
too
much
much time.
time, and then I'm stuck sitting there. Like it's one thing if I could take it and travel with me, and I had that Xbox experience, but that's not the case. And so, anyways, Nintendo Switch has been awesome because I can dock that thing on the TV. It's got enough audience for like it's the perfect gaming console for like family night. Like my wife will play it. My kid, like I downloaded Paw Patrol for my kid, and he'll want to try to play that. And then anytime Victoria's nephews come over, then they can play it as well. And yeah, and so I do that often. And by the way, Abigail, how many hours is Zelda? I don't know. It's downstairs charging right now, but I guarantee you it's got to be somewhere around, I think, 160 hours. You can actually see it if you if you go look at my profile. You can see how much time I spent. It's pretty ridiculous. But anyway,
Man, I remember playing Legend of Zelda on, let's see, on Super Nintendo back in probably like 1993 or 94 and wasting so many hours on it. And then the Game Boy version, I didn't really go any further than that, but I mean, shit, we're talking about, 25 years ago now. It's ridiculous.
oh, I'm gonna say something controversial here. I'm gonna say something controversial.
Uh-oh.
The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, I think, is just the greatest game. It's just the greatest game ever made. Like right now, for me, it is the goat. I don't care what anybody says. There's a lot. I mean, some people are into those like modern warfare, combat games, whatever. But I just think overall, the Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, there's just nothing like it. I mean, from the exploration, all the side little missions. Like, I mean, I've seriously spent over somewhere over 160 hours, and I'm not even halfway done. This is the crazy part. Like, there's literally so much you can do. Oh, as it says, 175. Okay, I'm sorry,
175 hours. Holy crap.
175 hours. Yes, plus that is where I'm at. Thank
Last
you.
game I did was Red Dead Redemption 2. And I did complete it, and I think it was like a minimum of like 80 hours of play, which for me is like absolutely ridiculous. And I'm sure it took me a lot longer. But the best games, though, that I've always felt, the ones that I've been like they've been like crack to me are online games. Okay, so I used to play this is a game before Call of Duty was available. It was called Day of Defeat, and it's basically capture the flag, and it's World War II. Axis against allies, and I mean, with a team of people that you play with, with TeamSpeak, all the above,
Hmm.
and just the relationships you bond with these people that you play with, like on a daily basis, they become. I mean, I'm still friendly with people that I've never seen before, right? and this is like 10 or 15 years ago that I used to be like really neck deep in this thing, but it was literally like my online crack. Thankfully, well, it actually nearly destroyed my marriage, and I had to quit. Now, so my wife
Yeah, that
is
game.
completely addicted to like Farm Heroes and Candy Crush. She's still playing Candy Crush after like 10 years of playing it. And
Oh
it's
God.
just, that I totally want to see the counter on her phone of how many hours she plays these games. But, I'm nowhere near as I was never as addicted to the games that I played back in the day as she is into those mobile games now. Swear to
I'd
God.
be curious, like for anybody who's listening right now, like what's your favorite gaming console that you're playing? For you, what would you say is yours, or the greatest of all time that you played? How about that? So it can either be something you're playing now or something you played before. What was your favorite?
Like me,
Yeah.
I've had all of them. I've had gaming consoles that you probably never heard of because you're too young.
Am I?
Okay.
Am I? I think that's
Okay.
questionable. I would say, oh man, like my favorite. I don't know. Like this is kind of hard. Like the first NES and the SNES was pretty solid, and then I did like my 64 because of course, like to me, Mario 64 and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time was pretty awesome. I would have to say right now though, maybe because you can backport all this stuff, but um, the Switch, man, I freaking love the Switch. And I'm kind of with Abigail to a degree with this one. Like she says, my phone or Nintendo 64. I would say like my phone right now or the Switch for sure. Like there's no doubt in my mind. Daniel, you say you're playing Broforce. I don't even know what this is, but that's interesting. Favorite
The
was Super Smash Bros.
Dreamcast.
Super Smash Bros. Is a fun game. That's just there's so many hours you can have there. Terry Dreamcast. Sega's Dreamcast. Look, it's nice to hear somebody mention an interesting system like that. For sure. I would say it was a great console. Just never picked up Steam. I can see where you say poor execution. The Sega Dreamcast. I know, like Joe was a big fan of that one too. I believe, and
What
I thought it
about
was
the
nice, but
Atari
never the phone.
Jaguar?
Oh
You
wow!
remember that?
I
That
do.
was
Okay,
like it was the first 64-bit console, but
I
no one
do remember.
supported it. And so it
I
was around the
do
same
remember the
time as the
Jaguar.
Dreamcast, I think, like
Oh,
1994,
you guys,
95.
you guys are taking me back. I was huge also into the Sega Game Gear. Like I was the odd man out. The Game Boy, I never got into a Game Boy. I did get into that Sega Game Gear. I'd play
Wait,
Sonic the Hedgehog, Chaos, Emerald, Chaos Ring, something like that. Anyways, that was really fun.
didn't
Shinobi
Atari have
thing.
a handheld as well at the same time as the
Yeah, yeah,
Game
wait,
Gear?
wait.
What was
So
it called?
no.
Because they
Maybe there
did.
was an Atari one, but I just remember after the Sega Game Gear, they had the Nomad, and I wanted one so bad, but I
I
couldn't.
don't think it was available in the UK, but I mean of the consoles that I had owned. Okay, so I think Sega Genesis,
Hmm.
that was my first console, which and it was in the UK it was called the Mega Drive. So Genesis, um, Super Nintendo, then a PlayStation 2, and so on and so forth. Xbox One. Oh, yeah, I had an Xbox 360, Xbox One, but during the 2000s, it was all about PCs. I just played PC games. Consoles were just like non-existent to me. I have an Xbox One now that I rarely play. I still have a PlayStation 3 that I play quite often. But I mean, I don't play for games very much at all anymore. So there you go. I've become far too ADD. You know,
Oh, I
the
never.
games the games that you play now, you have to be so um, entrenched in them and literally, hey, if you need 175 hours to finish a game, I can't do that. I can barely sit in front of a game for 5 minutes before getting bored. So, that's the way it's gone for me. It's kind of sad because, if you'd have asked me like 20 years ago, or if you'd have told me 20 years ago that I wouldn't be playing games anymore because I'd be bored of it, I'd be like, you're crazy, because that was my thing since I was like 12 years old when I got my first computer. Hey, I had a Commodore 64 back in the day.
Well, right now I'm looking at Daniel over here. Daniel Spell was talking about this poly
Polycade.
situation. It actually looks really interesting. This looks like so it's like an arcade. situation of some sort. This is really interesting.
What's a
It looks like they have a
polycade?
couple locations. I swore one looked like it was in the southeast. Yeah, in Atlanta. So they got one in Atlanta. Let's see. Uh, Name, Atom, details of Google Maps. Okay, anyway. So it looks like they got one in Atlanta, which is probably where Daniel, just knowing him, got it from. Endless games at your fingertips. Polycade is the only modern arcade platform designed to play both classic and modern games. Built for arcade games, built for ease, form. So this is really interesting, Daniel. He said it's awesome. It has all the games from the past. Like, how many games are on this thing, Daniel? If you can answer that, like, I'd be really curious um, to hear, like, what's going on with that. Play all of your retro games. That's pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
That's
you know what? The Atari handheld was called the Lynx.
the links.
Yeah, you remember
Oh
that?
my god!
It was
But I never
good,
knew
man. It
anyone
was
that
good.
had one. I remember hearing it. Nobody had one. Of course, like my friend Terry on here, I just call him TJ. And so when you hear me reference TJ, that's him. Um, I remember like we'd play some games. I remember obviously like the Sega Game Gear I had. But anyway, yeah, just between him and then this one guy Roger that I knew, like those are the only people I knew that had like kind of up to speed on the gaming consoles.
The problem with the retro games is, they're all very well, right? And they're all free now, but they're all rubbish. They're just not very good. I say to myself, oh, yeah, I really want to play that game again. But I remember, what was the game I used to play?
K game shit.
Gradius, the Gradius games in the arcade. I used to waste so much money. It was like 50p at the time. This is in England. I would spend like pounds and pounds on these bloody arcade games, and they were amazing. But I look at them now, and they're just absolutely rubbish. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I really want to play this, and I'll have it on my computer or my tablet or whatever, boot it up, and after about 30 seconds, I'm done because they're so
That
bad.
honestly sounds legit. I'm not gonna lie. It sounds.
Sorry, sorry to upset anyone, but they are really. There's something about when you get something for free, right?
Uh huh.
It's just it's not the same kind of impact, right? You don't really care. But I'm sure if I were to pay for some of these games, then I would actually probably play them.
So let me give you a little bit of a premise here on this situation with this polycade. Hold on, because now Daniel's got me stuck on this thing too. So Daniel sent me a picture of it. I know you can't see it right now. Technically, I think there actually is a way I can share it. That's just a hard thing to do. So I'll
Um,
may play with that.
oh, Ashley
Bottom
Bland.
line, it looks like it's mounted in the wall. Like he has it mounted to the wall. That's like a magenta color glowing around it, and then like a two-person like player setup, like it would normally be a typical arcade. And I see so many interesting things there. Sorry, my face is going away from the mic. That is pretty interesting, Daniel. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm gonna take you up on that offer, and we're gonna have to play that thing for sure. That's just nuts. There you go, just in case. Bam.
Hi, Ashley.
So interesting, man. Okay, like I'd be down with that. I don't know, man. It's just an interesting time, and I will say, like being stuck at home for such a long period of time right now has honestly given me some of this time where I wanted to play a lot of these good games. I haven't had a lot of time to do it, and I'm trying not to be that workaholic person where like on a weekend you pop up on the laptop. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Definitely not gonna do it. And just say, okay, look, I'm going to map up my time. I'm going to literally block off 2 hours. And I'm just going to, like, literally for these 2 hours, I'm just going to play games and not give a damn about anything else. Just enjoy it. And I have to say, it's been pretty refreshing. Like, I've actually really enjoyed this time at home to, play with the kids, do some things outside. Like, I was supposed to get mulch. I know, see, look, this is how you know your ass is getting old. Like, you're becoming like that dad, right? Like, I was waiting for mulch to be delivered from Home Depot, and that shit never came. And I'm like, mulch, oh, Home Depot. And so, like, I'm messaging them, which I know this is gonna sound terrible right now, but like, on my Mac, you can actually. So this is kind of cool. Like with iMessage, you can message businesses directly right from your messages. And so, anyway, so I did that to try to figure out, like, hey, what's going on with this shipping situation? Like, I where's this mulch? Did it get delivered to a neighbor or something? Like that's the last thing I want. And anyway, so Hasn't shown up yet. No big deal, but it's supposed to be here tomorrow. Who knows? But if it does come through, I got my work cut out for me. But yeah, anyway, so that was a part of the plan. I just kind of digressed over there. I just hopped on a little side road, but I'm done. All right.
So, so while you're at home, right, are you doing anything different? Like, are you learning any new skills? For example, I mean, you said that you're like doing more like, cleaning outside and tidying things up and what have you. But like, I found that, I've got more time to do some of the things that I've always wanted to be able to do, or at least I've always tried to do, right? So, for example, make good bread. I love French bread, right?
Mhm.
So I've always wanted to make my own French bread and like try and perfect the recipe. And there's so many bloody recipes out there. And like about a month or so ago, when I saw all of this coming, while I was doing my grocery shopping, I was buying a lot more stuff, and I had all of this in mind, and so I bought like a ton of flour and yeast and what have you. But anyway, so I've made two batches of baguettes, and they're actually pretty
Baguettes?
decent.
Oh, what the
Baguette,
hell is baguettes? Hold on, I'm sorry. What
a
is it?
baguette, like a French bread,
Oh,
a
French
French
bread?
stick.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, so but good French bread.
Okay.
I've made really excellent brownies.
What kind of brownies?
I'm
You live on the West Coast. Hold on. Time out. Just normal brownies?
No, 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 they're not normal. No. So, you get your normal brownie mixture, but you've got to add to it to give it to kind of elevate it, right? So I put in chocolate chips and I got some mint chocolate chips and also walnuts on top. So they taste bloody excellent. But not only that, you've got to have the right pan, right? So I have this brownie pan where it has like these squares cut out and you lift the part out. So you actually get perfect brownies with the corners are perfectly like crispy around every corner of every brownie. Absolutely perfect. What else? So yesterday I made a quiche.
I saw a
So I
picture of that. This is so interesting. It's so
and
easy to
it
handle.
was
Anyway,
it was
it looks
excellent.
really good.
So easy,
Who
so
knew
easy to
you were
make
like
quiche.
Jonathan Betty Crocker? I didn't realize like you had these type of skills, right? Like I don't see your face on the box for sure.
I know, right? Johnny Crocker.
Sorry.
Well, no, no,
Why
Jonathan
does that
Beechwood.
sound like an adult entertainer name? Oh
Jonathan
God!
Beechwood.
Look, I
Did I
went
tell you that story? I did. I told all the trainers that story last week. Jonathan Beechwood.
Jonathan Beachwood. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Wait,
No,
what
no.
is this Jonathan Beachwood? Wait, wait.
Well,
I do know. No,
what?
I'm
Yeah.
starting to recall.
So yeah, and
Uh huh. You want what?
brownies. Yes, Victoria. You need to get this man to
Yeah.
make you
Mommy
brownies.
has them. You have to give Daddy a second. Mommy has them.
What's he asking for?
Well, first he wanted water, so I got him water. Then so he's so funny. He's random. My favorite is like we had a conference call. It's on Friday. It was like our team call, just like the small team, that I'm on. But anyway, and also, oh, he wants to show you his superheroes. Okay, that's what it is. Okay. And anyways, like he literally runs in like Amy Montoya is talking, and like as Amy's talking, also he just runs in and goes, "Roar!" like Hulk. And I don't react. I just stare into the camera, and everyone kind of pauses, like, "Wait, what is this sound?" And Amy's like, "Well, no one turned their head, so I couldn't tell who it was." And I was like, "Yeah, it was me." I'm sorry, my
How old is he? Like three,
yeah,
3 or
he's a little
4?
over 3. He's born November, so yeah, he's definitely in that fun stage right now. That's for sure. I don't mind it. I really like it. I think it's a blessing either way. Like when your kids interrupt, like they kind of take a little bit of a detour here. Look, like working from home, and maybe this is actually something we can get into here. And look, working from home, this particular situation, we're all in the same boat, right? Like you're not gonna find babysitters, you're not gonna find like a lot of daycares open. Like a lot of these things are shut down, so you got to work around it. And honestly, like these aren't really big deals per se. You know what I mean? Like you can have a call and the kid can kind of come in and temporarily interrupt. I mean, you can mute if, unless you're like, of course, the one like walking everybody through something. I know that can be a little bit challenging, but these things just definitely they happen. Like I would have loved to see like that like Kyle Butler just popped it. I'd like to see when his kids pop in and see how he reacts. Jonathan Beachwood, there you
Jonathan Beechwood. Okay,
go.
the famous one. If I ever do have any kind of brand like cookies or whatever, it would definitely be a Jonathan Beechwood brand.
Exclusively at Aldi's. Yes, absolutely.
But no, so that's a few of the things that like I've been doing, which are kind of cool, and I've got like so many different things on the list that I want to kind of knock off when it comes to cooking, and and so definitely learning a few new tricks. I think you've got to in these times, to kind of
What's the perfect time? It's the perfect time to
yeah.
like I have a premium LinkedIn membership, so there's so many different skills I get into. I know I've been messing a bit around with video editing courses, right? Like, so I'm a pretty good like I'm somewhere between like I would say like a very borderline intermediate. Like, there's a lot of things I get done that I've learned just over the past year or so that I've been doing it, but I would love to do this more often, and just having the time to be able to do it, I think is going to be awesome. And by the way, Kyle Butler here. My wife wanted to kill me after having to watch Philip Boyce during our calls. Yeah, oh, I could only imagine. Like, I've had it to where my favorite is we were on this one particular phone call, and the whole time I sat there, and then we hopped on another call, and some people were like, "Hey, like you haven't even moved." Like, a couple people have kind of gotten up because, like, I mean, look, if you're going to be on calls all day, you are going to have to get up and move from time to time. They're like, "Yeah, I moved yet?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, this is the reason why." And I didn't want to like the computer tilts of this nature. And my kid, like, literally knocked. He was just laid out across my lap asleep, and I couldn't move. And I figured, I better leave him there, let him stay there comfortable because he's quiet. I don't have to worry about him getting into anything. We're good, right? So I'm just gonna let that roll.
Well, you know what? I'm very envious because like those years, like from like 2
Mm-hmm.
until like 12 or 13 are absolutely the best. So you've got some really good years to come, both you and Kyle for that matter. He's got two little ones as well. So much fun to come. Uh-oh, I spoke too soon.
I feel like he knows his name was Kyle. Look at your heroes. Okay, I'm gonna come look at them in about 10 minutes. Is that cool? Okay.
What time is it
I
out
love
there?
you.
It's like, isn't it bedtime out there?
Oh, it is bedtime for him, absolutely. But look, he just
Like it's like 11
he
o'clock.
y'all, he's going through this stage where he just gets up and does his own thing sometimes, and like every now and then, like I'll lay in his bed or Victoria lay in his bed with him, and he literally like he's gotten up in the middle of the night and like played in the dark. I'm like, what are you doing? Go back to bed. Go back to bed. But then if I say something, he knows I'm awake. Then he wants to really. Oh, now he's chasing the cat. Then he really wants to like show out. You know what I'm saying? So like that happens all the time. Coming in tipsy, apologies in advance. Oh, Ty, you can just come through tipsy anytime, my friend. Kyle, I've been teaching myself the full Adobe Suite. Super smart, actually, by the way. Premiere and After Effects are fun to learn. You can do so much with the full time suite. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, child is a nighttime owl.
Well, at 7 o'clock, so we're sitting there eating dinner, and my kid, she's sitting next to me eating, and she lets me know that she hasn't actually been awake for more than 8 hours because she didn't get out of bed until after 11 o'clock. So, but this is a 17-year-old, so
That's why.
she's up
Yeah,
at
that's
like
why.
midnight. She's playing music and you know all of the above, and I have no idea what time she gets to bed, but completely different set of circumstances with a 17-year-old than what you're dealing with, that's for sure. But dude, put that kid to bed.
Victoria, I know you're watching.
Hi.
Oh yeah, that's gonna have to be on her. Of course, he leaves the door open. I'm like, oh. The one I have to worry about is the infant this time. Like, I don't want to wake her. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, I'm lucky that both my kids have been really good about going to sleep. They get that from their mom. Like, they literally can sleep through anything. But he's a little bit of a night owl. I don't get, and he gets up at a pretty decent time in the morning too. Let the creep around. Let's see, Kyle. Let's see. Oh, I think we all feel this one. He says, "Oh, to be young with no responsibilities or all of this shit." I know. Oh my gosh, this would definitely be the better time to be young, especially this one, right? Because like I know, like we can just let these conversations turn wherever they may, but like I'm with you, Kyle. Like, look, this is some serious big shit, right? And like right now, I just don't think people have caught the grasp of how serious this is, right? Like,
Yeah, they have.
no, I just think a lot of people have not. A lot of people think it's kind of business as usual for now, but I'm like, oh no, there's a lag. It's like, look, we're on a roller coaster when that back seat and the front is like dipping down. They can see like shit's about to get real, and we're in the back like, no, it's good, it's good, it's good, we're good. Maggie, oh, you might appreciate this, Jonathan. He does this whole Maggie. It's a British
Maggie.
kids show that he watches, and he says things like "door," and he calls me. He's like, "Daddy, you're a naughty, naughty bird."
He doesn't. No, come on. I don't believe you.
And he just shut Victoria out the room.
Oh boy.
No, not come on, come and play with mommy. No, I don't. Daddy's doing stuff right now.
Yo, this is too funny. This is how it goes. Oh, you hear him? I'm working.
I'm working.
Yeah,
He's
because
getting
anytime
paid.
I'm in this
How much
office, I'm
does he
working.
get minimum wage?
Child labor. Oh
He
God,
gets free room.
he does get free rent. Why are you beating on Daddy right now? What's happening? Oh my gosh.
You're not.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not gonna tell you again.
Oh.
Uh-oh, she's
There.
putting her foot down
Oh,
now.
then look, I got to roll through, buddy. You look, you can't hide under this desk now. Look, Mama gonna get you. You better go. With this soccer ball. Daddy will be there shortly, though. Okay.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
Ooh, you gonna get Mary Poppins? I keep telling him, like you can get a Mary Poppins. Pop, 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 pop. You better-
Oh, so speaking of Mary Poppins, did you watch the Queen's speech?
No, and you know I saw it on the news. I have because it happened today, didn't it? It had to.
Yeah, this
It's
afternoon.
all over the
Yeah.
news right now.
Yeah.
Okay, like catch us up on this because a lot of people said this is something I noticed. People are like, why can't we have the Queen here? I think you know what that's referencing. But go ahead.
Well, she spoke to the British people, about our resolve, I'm not British, but, their resolve and how we've been through so much. And, she pointed to World War II. I think she's probably the only, I mean, is she a world leader? I'm not sure if you can call her a leader, but she's a royal. But okay, I'll call her a world leader. She is probably the only world leader who is still alive who was, she was around during World War II and could remember because she was a teenager during World War II. I mean, the woman is in her 90s, for Christ's sake. But she remembers. And so she kind of, referred to World War II and that, this is obviously something that is, is on that kind of scale.
Mm-hmm.
And that, we got through the Second World War and we will get through this. And,
Absolutely.
for everyone to be responsible and to use good humor, to get through these bad times. But it made me think, though, because, I mean, obviously, I'm not in England, I'm here. But it was like, she was talking to me and she was talking to us as well. And she was talking to, the whole world, basically. Anyone who was watching, she's talking to. And it was a very good thing. I think there's a lot can be said about, or a lot has been said and is said about the royal family that negatively, but she's been around for a long time, and love her or hate her, in this case, she's right, and she's trying to pull people together, and for sure she's done a much better job of pulling people together than a certain man who lives on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Oh yeah, look.
For sure.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Yeah, there's no.
And so, and something else that we're talking about the virus. It seems that we still don't understand this virus. We don't understand it at all. So Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson was in isolation for mandatory 7 days, and now he's in hospital. He's in hospital because his fever just won't go away. So, there are things that we don't understand about it. Why does it strike down young people who have no problems, who have no underlying issues? The incubation time, it's still not fully understood. How it's transmitted, really, it's not fully understood. So everything's one big unknown. I mean, let's face it. We're being told not to go outside, not to interact with other people. So that basically means that there are things about this virus that we just plainly don't understand. They're threatening in Britain to stop people now from going outside to exercise. So if you're outside doing anything other than going to the doctor, going to the grocery store, or doing something in an emergency, you may not be outside. They're threatening that because people are going outside to sunbathe because it was a nice weekend of weather, I guess, there for the first time this year. But I mean, once you get to that stage, then okay, then it's another level of seriousness. And going back to what we were talking about earlier, when it comes to being outside and having these masks on and it creating this extra level of seriousness and this tense environment. It would only take a very small event to push people over the edge, I think.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I mean, we're lucky this is not Ebola, right? Like, if this is Ebola, we'd be in real some deep shit because then,
Yeah,
if we continue to behave the way that
kills
we did,
everyone.
it would kill a lot of people, right? So it just and look, this is not going to be the last time this happens. This has just happened throughout history. We just had a long period of time where we got lucky, like several times. When you think of SARS, MERS, right, the rest of them, like we've gotten lucky, and you can arguably say there's a combination of just the way we responded to a few things here and there, sure. But I mean, even watching like old school like Bill Gates TED talks, right, and telling people to get ready for it. And I mean, he even went and tried to get the current Trump administration to pay attention to it. And he said they sounded interested, but nobody really followed through. And here we are. And so hopefully we really learned a lesson here because again, I mean, this one was performed in the jungle versus in a lab, but heaven forbid that day comes. So I just think we have to be better suited for this type of thing, and hopefully we learn a really valuable lesson here because it's not going to be the first and last time, right? Like clearly, it's just not going to be. And I just have a concern that we're a short term memory type of individuals in society here, and then we'll want to go back to some sort of new normal without acknowledging some of the pains, and we would prefer to forget. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know. Yeah, this is different. I mean, you've got to consider that literally the whole world is on lockdown. Almost everyone in the whole world being told stay at home. And that, I mean, if you don't learn something from that, then you know, we're all freaking stupid.
Well, people are stupid. There's no two ways about it, right? Like, I don't mean to sound harsh or anything else, but I just think we got to own it. No, we as a group of people, we're really stupid at some of the things we do, and it's very obvious. And so I hope again that we just have people that are going to have the courage, because look, I've just noticed so many failed leaders here. Like they're afraid to make a decision and make people abide by it. And if literally you're afraid to make a decision because you're going to be judged for it or whatnot, then maybe you don't need to be in politics, right? You know what I'm saying? Like people who have the authority to, from a social standpoint, to say, hey, like this is the action plan moving forward. If you are just so afraid about not being, you won't get a chair again the next time a vote occurs, whatever, then it's not for you. Then get out of here, right? Like you need to do the right thing, and hopefully people will see the intelligence in it and do it. And if they don't, they don't, right? But like do what's right and not worry about everything else, right? Like who cares if somebody comes at you and what? Someone's always gonna disagree with you. Someone's always gonna think there's some sort of ulterior motive. That's just the way people work. That's the way life is. And so it would just be nice if we had people that had a bit of courage, some sense, and to know when let's say if I'm outnumbered, outgunned, outsmarted, then I go find people that are going to help give me the leverage and give what we need to move the plan, the mission forward. And we just don't have enough of these people, and so just disheartening to see.
Well, hopefully after this is all said and done, FEMA will have they'll have a lot of different pieces in place that will mean that we're ready for if this happens again or if something like this happens again, because these are all new precedents that have transpired, and it was always a fear that this kind of thing would happen, but when it happens on a scale like this, you can't possibly be ready. You just can't.
Or
And there's no country in the world that has been ready for this.
Well, let's dissect that a little bit. First off, Taifan, people are afraid to confront leaders. I think it's the way around. I think leaders are afraid to confront people. I think the leaders look at the people and say, "Hey, look, like I don't want to upset or unbalance everything. I want to keep this positive message moving forward. I don't want to give any sort of negativity because they don't want the lash back." So I think it's very interesting that you put it that way. And as for preparedness, look, I think it's. Again, I know this is not like a fair apples to apples comparison here, but it's just like anything else in life. Like, are you ever really 100% ready for that job interview? Are you ever 100% ready to take that, that exam that you're going to take, whatever it may be. Like, look, you can prepare all day long, and there's always going to be some small shortcomings. But I think the better that you do to prepare and practice and study, and you get your everything in order, in other words, I think the more likely that the outcome will turn in your favor. And so, while I think it's unreasonable to suspect that 100% of anything is ever going to turn out the way it was intended. I just think it gives us better leverage, and then will give us the knowledge that we need to quickly pivot if something does go sideways. If we said, "Hey, here's our action plan," oh, it's not working, but again, we have a few plans in place where we're not scrambling to solve for all these things. We have 8 out of 10 of these things solved. Now we can truly hone in and focus on the other two. So I'm really curious just how our planning moves forward in the future.
So change of subject.
Yep.
So I don't know what kind of sports that you're interested in, but for me, it's all motorsport. Okay, whether it's Formula One, NASCAR, IndyCar, and obviously everything has been cancelled, right? And in fact, everything has now been switched to esports. So all the professional drivers, or some of them, okay, they're all now competing in esports instead online. And you know what? It's kind of exciting. And it's a lot of fun, and it's just so accessible. So I know you're probably into sports. I'm not into American style sports, NFL, MLB, NHL, blah blah blah. I just can't do it. But how are you digesting sports now?
This is so interesting that you said that. Okay, so first off, news alert. I could care less or I couldn't care less for sports. I actually had
Wow. Okay,
nope.
that surprises
But
me.
this is an interesting thing though. When you said esports, you immediately piqued my attention. Look, I'm kind of with. There's like a really popular guy, Gary Vaynerchuk. If you ever heard of him, he's been talking about like esports forever, how that's the next big thing. And I have to agree. I find esports to be very interesting. I think the only time I've ever enjoyed these things was when I went physically to a game. I'm not going to ever enjoy them like the diehard fans would enjoy a game. But like I went to a hockey game with my brother took me one time. I really enjoyed that. I went to a football game with with Eric Dunhant one time, and even though he's just like, "You're on your phone," I'm like, "Yeah, but I still enjoyed that." There's a certain atmosphere there that I enjoyed. I do not find any joy watching it on TV, and I think what esports brings to the table that was the closest thing to real life is some sort of community around it. I can see why some people go on Twitter and so on and so forth when they watch or they have friends come out and watch the game. It doesn't really move me. I prefer the food and the drinks that come along with game time. But esports is just so interesting to me. I find it very fascinating. And I'm really curious from a community standpoint. I think the engagement is just off the charts. And it gives you a bit better view and control over what you watch, how you watch it, right? Like I'm really curious of how esports takes off. So I think that's really interesting. And Kyle agrees with you here. He thinks esports is for the win. And again, as a person who's not big into sports at all, I would have to agree for a few of those reasons I listed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how it can work for, like football or soccer or hockey or anything like that, because, those are video games that it's just not the same. But when it comes to motorsports, if you take, say, I know the Ferrari Formula One team and all the Formula One teams and all the big teams in all the different categories, whether it's NASCAR, IndyCar, whatever, they all have a simulator at the factory, and the drivers drive in the simulator. And the esports is pretty much the same thing. It's almost the same software. It's based on the same thing. Most of them use iRacing. So the drivers, they have their own simulator at home, and the same thing is accessible by people like you and I. You can spend a few $100s and have, it's not going to be exactly the same experience mechanically, but digitally it is going to be the same experience. Just you're going to see the same thing. You've got a steering wheel and pedals or whatever. But what this does is with esports, it brings professionals and amateurs together on like the same platforms. And there's a lot of people who they do their esports, and they might have like a YouTube channel or something, and they've monetized it and they've become very well known in the esports world. But now they're going head to head and toe to toe with these professionals. And yeah, I'm totally geeking out, Ty, because I'm a F1 geek. I've been like a F1 fanatic since I was like 15 years old. So and this is like God, how old am I? I don't even remember, but it's been a long time, like 30 years plus. But I mean, my point is that you've got real drivers, if professional drivers now racing with just normal you and I, people who are really good at these games. And you know what? The amateurs a lot of the time are actually beating the professional drivers who are getting paid multi-million dollars to drive the real thing. But it's really interesting and it's really exciting. So like this morning, I was watching this. It was like a 3-hour championship, and instead of multiple laps, it was 2 drivers, 1 lap, and that's it. And a lap is like a minute and a half, and the winner goes to the next round, and then it comes down to a final. And in the final, it was the Formula One driver, the professional driver, against the amateur. The professional kind of won, but it was really exciting. It was a completely different format. That obviously it's something that they wouldn't be able to do in real life because these cars are multi-million-dollar cars and you don't want to smash them to pieces, but which you can do in the game, and without any kind of issues, you just press reset. But as a spectacle, it was absolutely fantastic. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, look, I think honestly, I think it's a bit of the future. I think that the writing's been on the wall for a little bit. You can think of certain movies that are interesting to me, like whether it was Avatar. What was the other one with the gamers game? It was here recently. It was filmed by Steven Spielberg. I'm trying to remember what all.
Ready Player One.
Yes, Ready Player One. That's it. And here's my thing, right? So if you have, let's say, a real, the real race car driver, and sure, in the real world you are, but like, I could make the arguments, that sports honestly could be anything that has some sort of set of challenges, right? Like I hear people debate all the time, golf being a sport, like what? Or motorsports, right? Motorsports being a sport, what, right? And so, everybody has a different flavor of what they would consider to be a sport and not be a sport. And I would make the argument that you could say anything is a sport that requires a very challenging skill where there's so many different dynamics that just as a human being, like your mind is calculating all these different things at one given time, right? So if you're
is sport something that's physical or is sport something that's competition?
I think it's competition.
It has to be competition.
I think it's competition.
Yeah.
Because when you say, "Oh, I do something for sport," right? Like, I think it's for competition. I don't think we can just say physical elements are sports because if that's the case, and there's a lot of things today that people appreciate, we can get rid of. And again, I think the landscape has changed here, and it's a skill. It's competition. It's a set of skills. And look, you got some gamers out there. They have hand-eye coordination, control, like everything that it would require you in the physical world to do, but they're just applying it differently.
But you can still be a 400-pound mouth breather and you can still do it.
Yeah, but you know what? At the same time, it's more of a mind over matter situation, right? I mean, it's like, I get what you're saying there, but I mean, there's people who race cars that are Arnold Schwarzeneggers, right? Different sport.
Oh, no, they're skinny. They're tiny.
Right?
They have to be very light.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could take a 400-pound person sitting behind a desk, but that sounds like a sumo wrestler, right? That's a sport. And you can go get a boxer or, some sort of kickboxer to go in, and they're not going to be able to compete in that realm. So I think we just have to open up our mind of what a sport could be. Again, I think your point to it being competition is the main thing. And I like the idea of a little bit more of an even, an even field for people to play.
Yeah,
because that's what makes more competition. It's just like chess. This is why chess, to me, I think, again, some people consider it as a sport.
That's not a sport. That's a game.
That's a game. Hard. Well, sports are games. I mean, they're all games.
There's this whole big fight.
So see, it's like
a fine line. It's
what
a
we're
big
saying
gray
is
line.
when we say chess can't be a sport, we're saying because there's nothing physical. But I would make the argument that if you have to have, again, being very thoughtful, you're thinking strategically, how far ahead. Sports has to do the same thing. Right? There's a lot of similarities that go back and forth. I just think so many people get stuck in this space. Kyle, hey man, I could be a professional beer pong player. It's not all just physical. I'm with you, Kyle. I'm pretty sure you're joking there a little bit, but I'm with you on this one. Look, I just think that we have to be open to redefining to what that means. And I think some people don't like it. It's like, okay, let me give you a quick example of this. It is like Steven Spielberg and all these movie people saying that Netflix, these aren't real movies. That somebody recording on their Samsung phone or recording on their iPhone can't do storytelling and can't make production, right? And I think that's just a load of shit. So when people say, "Oh, Netflix, Hulu, they shouldn't be able to win these, Oscar, whatever," I'm like, no, like, sure, it's not your old school version of what a film is, but these things have changed, and they're doing really compelling storytelling here that still plays in the field a bit. And so it's just interesting to me how, it's just like an old school, the cars, right? Like, oh, a twin clutch situation like that is not a true sports car, not like a real manual or all-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive, right? Like, we just get so stuck in our own lane, and we don't like to see things grow because then it gets us out of our comfort zone. And from that competition standpoint, now if something has changed, you see what I'm saying, then people feel some type of way about it. I just think it's interesting.
I forgot that you're a petrol head, Terence. So next time we need to talk about that.
I know. Yeah, I'm a big petrol head. That is very true. Which,
Like God, all the cars that I've been through over the years, and I had a midlife crisis car. I had a BMW Z3 for like 4 or 5 years. I had
or
a Mustang GT, which was fantastic, unless you went around corners. It was pretty awful. Um,
but still fun.
I had a Volkswagen GTI. That was probably my last very fun car.
Yes.
And then I got to the stage where I became an FSM and I needed to do a lot of miles, so I got your Hypermiler. But now I have an SUV and I drive slowly. I can't drive fast anymore. That's just, something you get over, I think. But yeah, but now we need to talk cars next time. Yeah, the Z3. And so, Ty, it was yellow. It was freaking awesome. Wicked little car. Loved it.
Yeah, look, I think Z3s are awesome. Kyle, you're absolutely right. Do not get me started on Evos. Like, I'll go on and on. I'm a big rally car fan, that's for sure. I even like the Subarus and the STIs. Like, Joe sent me, he watched this entire documentary. I'm like, you must really be in it to watch this thing. But also, Joe's so funny. As somebody who's like in the cars, that guy's so afraid to touch his car. Like, he got an exhaust. I'm like, look, dude, just do like a cob. Just get a whole stage thing done. And he's so like, he seems so wishy washy about it. I'm like, oh, just get out of here. Just go read your Super Street magazine. Sorry, discontinue. Oh man, yeah. Look, you gotta enjoy them. And I'm afraid we'll get into this a little bit later because I think this is such an interesting topic too. Because look, I think to a degree the traditional sports car, I think those numbers, the days are numbered, my friend. I think that is
Yeah,
becoming to an end, and people aren't gonna
yeah.
like it. People are gonna revolt, but we're gonna get to it because I mean, when you go get a Tesla, put your whole family in it and just rip almost every
Well,
production.
it's going to die with the generations, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
it is going to die with
today's
generation.
generation, they
They don't
now
give a shit
want
about
these
it.
electric cars.
They don't want even
And,
any cars, right? Like they'd rather this shit drive themselves. Uber, Lyft.
yeah, I mean, and it's awful. It's awful. And, somebody like me who's, into motor racing, these cars need to make like a very serious noise, okay? And if you dial it down, it's not exciting anymore. And like, have you ever watched a Formula E race?
Oh no, I'm not.
No, so it's a single seater and it's slow compared to Formula One, and they're silent other than this kind of electrical whine that they make. And I think it's there in like their season 3 or season 4, but the first two seasons, the battery in the car was such that it didn't have enough power to last the whole race. So they actually had each driver had two cars, and he'd come into the pits, do his pit stop halfway through the race, and jump out the car, and then jump into the other one with a fresh battery. But now they have a battery that lasts like the whole race. But no, the point I'm making is that they make no noise and there's no impact, right? It's just boring. But what I want to show you here, I'm going to pull up a link on. I'll pull something up on
Oh, we'll have to
YouTube
revisit this one.
for
Sure.
everyone to
We'll throw the
listen to.
link up there, but we're gonna have to revisit it. And again, yeah, it's like I to me the sounds are nice. Like I'm a big fan of turbo. Clearly, I like to hear things spool, and I mean I just love to hear. Anytime even I start my car, like it whistles a little bit when I do. But there's such just a touchy one there. Like if I'm watching somebody and the only thing that's fun to me is the sound, I'm like I think you kind of miss it. I don't know. To me it's just being thrusted back into my seat. But I think it's a very personal experience. Like I like to be the one driving it or sitting in the passenger seat. But watching it, even motorsports themselves, with the exception of like drifting and a few other things here, like
Well, you've got to be invested. Just like, and it's just like any sport. If you were to turn on the TV and there was just like an NFL game, and you're like, oh yeah, I really like football, but you didn't really care for either two teams, like you're not going to want to watch it, right?
fair.
And with motorsport, it's the same. If you don't know who the drivers are, if you don't know the history between drivers and the teams and what kind of cars they are, and actually invest in a bit with the series, you're not going to be interested in watching it. So I know a lot of people go to like the Daytona 500 every year or the Indy 500 every year, and they don't go to any other race and they don't know who the drivers are or anything. And it's just kind of the spectacle of the thing and to be there and drink a few beers and just to hang out. But, most petrol heads are just, when they're into their racing, they're really fully invested, and it's almost like a religious experience.
Well, to me, if I can go sit in anybody's car, it's going to be Ken Block's car. Just put me in a car and just do some crazy stunts and go through some crazy obstacles, and so I can pee my pants a little bit.
There you go. Well, hey, I think, how long have we been on for? It's like
Well, we are now
an
1 hour,
hour
1 minute, and
some.
33 seconds. So this will
If you
be the
ain't
first
first,
and
you're
last.
last. Damn straight, Carl Butler.
So
Shake and bake, partner.
the one's Shake and Bake. Such a good movie. That movie, Talladega Nights, never gets old. That's for sure.
Well, okay, Bobby. I am from Formula E. I will beat you. Now give me a big kiss.
Oh man, all I hear is Borat every time I see him. But absolutely. Well, with that, we should probably hop off, Jonathan. We definitely got to do this again at some point, and then look, we might even have to sucker in Kyle if we can. Like we got Kyle, we got Ty, we got a few
Yeah,
people we can
totally,
always
man.
pull in. There's no doubt. Won't make it go too crazy, but all right, Jonathan. Well, Jonathan, do not hit the hang up button. You did this to me last night. I'm gonna
Oh,
finish it here, but don't hit the hang up button there.
okay.
That makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Facebook. We'll holler at you later.
Thanks, everyone.